Almost 50 years ago, the National Children's Bureau began a groundbreaking study, Born to Fail. It found that children from poor and disadvantaged families were much worse off. Their health was worse, they didn't do as well at school, they lived in overcrowded housing, and were more likely to be injured at home. 5 decades on, has life got better or worse for these children? Are they still born to fail? Looking at 12 key indicators related to poverty, the early years, education, health and the home, and local environment, we found that despite huge technological advancement, increasing wealth, and rising living standards, fundamental inequalities in childhood still persist today. Since 1969, the number of children living in poverty has almost doubled from 2 million to 3.5 million. The damage begins at birth, with babies from lower socioeconomic backgrounds more likely to be born underweight, potentially leading to long-term effects on health and learning. A child from a disadvantaged background is still far less likely to achieve a good level of development at 4, to be doing well at school age 11, and succeed in their GCSEs at 16. Home may be a word we associate with comfort and safety, but for 800,000 children, it means existing in overcrowded conditions, moving between temporary accommodation and living at far higher risk of unintentional accident or injury. These children are 9 times less likely than their affluent counterparts to have access to green spaces and environments with better air quality, and their health is far worse. Boys living in deprived neighbourhoods are 3 times more likely to be obese, and girls are twice as likely. Cuts to services and welfare benefits means the gap between them and others is set to grow even wider. An estimated 500,000 children will fall into poverty by the time of the next election in 2015. Could we be doing better for our children? In making comparisons with other industrialised countries, it's clear that we could be achieving much more. Many countries are outperforming us. If we were doing as well as them, our children would be far better off. Almost 1 million would not be living in poverty. The deaths of 172 children through unintentional injuries alone could be prevented every year. 320,000 more 15 to 19-year-olds would be in education or training, and nearly 45,000 fewer 11-year-olds would be obese. 770,000 fewer children under 5 would be living in poor environmental conditions. Nearly 1 in 5 of all children that age. Now is the time to rethink if we are to avoid a world in which children's lives are so polarised that rich and poor live in separate parallel communities. Consider the implications for social cohesion. Inequality breeds distrust, fear and anger, creating a them and us society. And economically, we cannot afford so many of the nation's future generations to be cut adrift, allowing desperately needed talents to be unfulfilled. As one of the richest nations on earth, we should be aspiring to be the best place in the world for children to grow up. If not, in the next 50 years, inequality and social apartheid will become a fact of life for every generation of children.